Hi, my name is Jim. I'm 48. I first attended the Total Health Institute when I was about 41. It was about nearly 8 years ago. And at that time, I was kind of rolling along, seemed like I was healthy, and had some symptoms popped up, and went to had some testing done at my doctor's, and he sent me for more testing, and then they did an internal visual inspection and determined that I had a cancerous tumor in my bladder, which was quite a shock, of course, at 41, thinking that I'm pretty healthy. And so that brought me to something of a crossroads for just making a decision as to what I was going to do about that. I'm sure when anyone gets confronted with some type of major health challenge, it's a significant emotional event, which it was for me. And I had been exposed to some friends through the years who had taken an alternative approach to things, and I always thought that they were a little weird in how they went about that. It seemed weird to me. It wasn't medical, it wasn't regular doctor stuff, and I kind of poo-pooed that until this experience happened. And when this happened, I started thinking hard about, which way do I want to go? The urologist basically said we need to go in and operate, get that removed, and then there would have been some amount of chemo or radiation after that. So I recognized that was one option. And on the other hand, I had heard about the Total Health Institute on the radio, and I'd listened to some things that Dr. Nemec had said, and that was also, and I was trying to figure out which way to go. So I prayed about it quite a bit, and I would add too that in my own history, I think just growing up and having relatives pass away from cancer, in my formative years, the teens and 20s, for some reason that just stuck with me. And from the time I became a believer, around the age of 19, I just always prayed, Lord, I don't care when you take me home, just don't let it be through disease or cancer. And so, of course, when I got this news, and I'm at this juncture, I'm pretty upset with God about that, thinking, geez, Lord, I've been praying this one thing for 20 years, didn't you hear that? And of course He did. So, all that was going round and round, and really by the grace of God, I took what was for me kind of a big step of faith, and I went the alternative route instead of going the medical route, which just for me was very unusual. I'm an engineer, very kind of a logical guy, and going this way didn't necessarily make all the sense it should have at the time, but it just seemed like this was the better way to go. So I began treatment here, I think in July or August of 2004, I think, because it was 8 summers ago. So I began treatment at that time, and this was after I'd seen the urologist, so it was probably 3 or 4 weeks after that, so I started here and was beginning the program, and I kind of felt like, I think this is a better way to go. And several weeks after that, I received a letter from my urologist, and I think he was trying to do what was best for me, but the letter said that, Jim, we haven't heard from you, and failure to deal with this, address this issue in your bladder could lead to loss of function up to and including death. So that rattled my cage a little bit, of course, and I remember I was being treated here 3 times a week for that first year, and I remember coming into Dr. Nemec that night for just the normal treatment and pointing out the letter that I had gotten, and I was laying on the table, and I remember very distinctly, and I always will remember this, and Dr. Nemec just had a big smile on his face when I told him about the letter. He said, you just put that letter up on your prayer mat, and you keep your eyes on God, and do what we're telling you to do. And oddly enough, instead of being very focused on the problem, which is what engineers typically do, trying to solve the problem, I just did what he told me to do. And I kept my eyes on God and stopped worrying about the problem and did what he told me to do. And weeks went by, months went by, and when I made a hard transition into the diet, that he prescribed. And of course, I lost a lot of weight. I started 6'2", 175, dropped down to 6'2", 147. Kind of scary looking. Had kind of a concentration camp look going for a while. But, and that concerned me. But Dr. Nemec reminded me, just don't worry about it. Your body's rebuilding itself. You'll go back to where you need to be. And sure enough, that's what happened over time. So I continued on with the program, and I will say that maybe after 7, 8 months, 9 months, the symptoms that I had originally experienced that let me know that there was some problem in there began to go away. And I continued on, and the months went by, and the years went by, and I didn't lose function, and of course I wasn't dead. So here I am today, and I have continued on the program. I don't do as many of the therapies as I did originally because for my work, I never had a doctor go back in. The only way that they could tell for sure whether my tumor is going would be to go in and visually inspect. But Dr. Nemec recommended really stepping outside of that system, and I did. But for work, I have to get some testing done every year, physical, which includes now a urine analysis, a urine cytology, where they check, they can basically determine if there's cancer cells in the urine, and there aren't any, and that's been the case for a number of years. And so I just find it a huge blessing that in coming here and doing this, going this route, not going the route of surgeries. Basically, I had no surgeries done, no cutting, no poison, no radiation, no medical treatment whatsoever. I just kept my eyes on God and did what Dr. Nemec told me to do. And I'm here today. When I do, and for those that don't know, obviously if you're not familiar with this place, there's a lot of highly technical stuff they do. 50-point blood analysis, other things, many other more detailed things they do. And things like the blood analysis show that I'm very healthy. Back to what I prayed about originally, praying that God wouldn't take me through disease or cancer or anything. I come from a family history that's terrible medically. There's heart disease, cancer, diabetes on both sides of my family chain. And when I get my blood work done, far more accurate than just cholesterol testing, things like homocysteine are checked and C-reactive protein, I come out as very low risk for heart disease. So several years into this process, I remember driving home one time, and I just really felt like the Lord brought back to my mind what I had prayed originally, and made it really very clear to me that Jim, you prayed that it wouldn't take you through disease and cancer, and this was my way of answering the prayer. And I very much believe that God used this place in my life to alter my lifestyle and my approach to life, such that now I think by the lifestyle I live, who knows when God will take me home, but I think rescuing me from the standard American diet and standard American lifestyle, I think has put me on a path where I think it's far more likely that I'll die of old age as opposed to the standard diseases that bring Americans down. So I guess in summary, in closing, I'm extremely grateful to God for leading me on this path, and I'm very grateful to Dr. Nemec for the work that he did with me in here at the Health Institute, and basically delivered me from a great fear and delivered me from a major health challenge. And I now live a pretty healthy lifestyle. I'm 48 years old. I still play softball, tennis, work out 4 times a week, so I think I'm better off now than when I came in. And I just give all the glory and honor to God. And that's my story.